Hi, and welcome to today's Northwest Book Talk. I'm Patty Grasher, and today my guest is Paula Charles. Now, Paula is the cozy book author of the hometown hardware mysteries, and then she role plays into Jana Rollins with the Zen Goat Mystery Series. So, two names, two series, and a whole pack of fun. So, welcome, Paula, to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Patty. I
So,
appreciate being here.
Oh, great. So, a bit later in the program, I want to hear about your writing journey, but first, I would like to start with the fact that you write under two different pen names, Paula Charles and Jana Rollins. So, what is your reason behind that?
Well, that actually kind of ties into my writing journey because they're both cozy mystery series, and I had written the first in each series, was agented, and my agent had both of my series out on submission at the same time. And I actually ended up getting offers on both of them from two different publishers 2 days apart. And one of the, yeah, and one of the publishers wanted me to write under a separate name than I was writing the other series under. So that's how that came about.
So, that is very amazing. First of all, it's amazing that you got two confirmations for two different publishers. And then, how challenging has that been to go back and forth with two different names?
It really hasn't been. One of my questions initially to the publisher that insisted on the separate name was, do I have to have two different newsletters, two different websites, two different social media accounts? And they said no, just go ahead and combine all that. It hasn't been tough.
Okay, well that's cool. So let's go
Yeah.
back. Let's go back into the beginning of your writing journey. So you started off with these cozy book series. That's how I came to find you. But where did it all begin?
Well, it's kind of I've always been an avid reader my entire life. My whole family was. And I've always in the back of my head thought, it would be so amazing to write. So for me, my celebrity crushes were always authors, not movie stars. And I had over the years, I wrote a blog and I, did some poems and stuff, nothing that ever got published. But my husband used to always say, you should really try to write a book one of these days. Your stuff is pretty good. And I always thought, I can't. Besides the fact raising kids, working a way more than full-time job, there just wasn't the time to even think about it. But I also honestly didn't think I had the skill or enough words in my head to write a full novel. And then fast forward to the kids are grown and gone. I'd had some health issues, so I was no longer working. 2019, and three friends, or no, there was three of us, two friends and I took a course through the Clark County Genealogical Library that was all about writing family history stories. And it was a 4 week workshop, fairly intense, where at the end of the 4 weeks, we met just once a week. End of the 4 weeks, you were supposed to have enough pages to publish a small book. And granted, it was only like 25 pages, but it was through Create Space, which is now KDP through Amazon. And I did that and it just kind of planted the seed and it got me thinking, well, I don't know if I can't write a book, and if I don't ever try, then then I won't. So that's where it all came about. And Hammers and Homicide was that first book that I sat down to try to write. It took me about 2 years, but here we are. I actually had enough words in my head to write a book and more.
Oh yeah, it was a great book. It was a great book.
Thank you.
So how did you get those agents? How did you go from you got the book written and then what was the next step? How challenging? What was that?
That's fairly challenging. I always say getting an agent, signing with an agent is like finding a unicorn in the woods. It's a long, arduous project or process. Um, so I actually took a little online, and it was a free course on how to write a query letter, how to search for agents that that take books in your genre, which mine is cozy mystery. Did all of that, started sending out query letters with Hammers and Homicide, my first book, and I got 30 rejections. People, they were actually asking for the full read of the manuscript, but then they were rejecting the manuscript. So I knew my query letter was working, but maybe the book wasn't. So I actually stopped querying it, took a mystery master class by Ellie Alexander. If you're familiar with cozy mysteries, you probably know who Ellie is. She's actually originally from Vancouver, and she's a very successful cozy mystery author.
I love
Um,
Ellie. I've taken a course from Ellie. Oh my God, that's so wonderful. Yes.
okay, yeah. So I took Ellie's course, and in the course, while I was taking her course, I wrote an escape goat. And during that course, I figured out what was missing in Hammers and Homicide. So I finished up an escape goat, started submitting that to agents, the same process that I had done and stopped doing with Hammers and Homicide, and found my agent, signed with her. She had actually been one of the agents that had rejected Hammers and Homicide twice. Because originally, when she first read it, she had asked me for an R&R, which is a revise and resubmit. She pointed out a few problems, asked me to revise it, resubmit to her. She had rejected it a second time. So now I had sent her an escape goat. She'd signed me for an escape goat, and then I had said, in complete transparency, just a reminder, I have this other series that you rejected twice, but I've completely rewritten it like 7 times. And she reread it and said, "Yep, I love this. Let's do it," and signed me for both of them. So that was amazing. And then, like I said, an agent helps you with some editing and then puts it out on submission to the publishers. So it's a very long process.
Okay. So, well, it's 2019. You started writing it, and then
Yes.
when was the first book published?
2024, January of 2024.
So, wow. I mean, like you've really like been hot once you got going. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Once the book started. So now you have 4 books, or do you have more than that?
I have 4 at this time.
Four
Yeah.
at the time. So, were you writing like the sequels at the same time together, or how was that working?
Yes. So once I got the offers, I had actually written the first 3 chapters of each of the sequels and just let them sit, until I got the offers for the different series, and then I got to work and wrote the sequels for both, series. My Zen Goat series, I'm contracted for 3, so the third is also written and is with my publisher, will be coming out in March of 2026.
So, and what about the first series? Is that for 2 books too, or is that ongoing?
That is both. Yes and no. So that one, Hammers and Homicide, was picked up by Crooked Lane, who really focuses on libraries and book clubs. So they put it out in hardback. There is not a paperback. Um, the sales weren't. I earned out my advance right away, but they keep things close to their chest. I don't know what numbers they were looking for, but it wasn't good enough. They decided not to continue the series. So I have continued it myself. The second book is Ask Me No Questions, and I self-published that. Yesterday I finished the first draft of the third book in that series, which I will have coming out in late October.
So you've done it all. I mean, I am
Yeah.
just like flabbergasted. Okay, so you've got like you started in 2019. You got your books published. You've got a traditional, uh, route, and now you've done the self-publishing route. It's like, oh my gosh, I really feel, what do they call that? What do you call that? Imposter syndrome. Yeah, yeah.
Oh gosh, no.
So that's so cool because I'm thinking like, oh, okay, I really would like to write a story, a book, and
Yeah.
I wrote
Yeah.
a kid's book, and it's never gone anywhere. And I thought, well, I should just keep trying, but then I'm reading this. Sorry, I'm taking the time of your talk,
No.
but
Yes,
I
I
was
love it.
okay. So I'm reading this book, Magic Words, which is a great book on writing for middle grade school kids.
Oh, sure,
And
yeah.
and she says, well, one of the first things you should do is like read 500 books. I thought, oh my God, I'm 68 years old. I'll be 82 before I read.
You probably already have read those 500 books.
Maybe. Oh yeah, 500 books, but not in that genre. So anyway,
Right.
this is like, okay, well, anyway, what the heck. But so now I want to say, what do you think, since you're both traditionally published and self-published, what is the challenge of putting both out?
I mean, there's pros and cons of both ways. And, I'm a fairly newbie self-published. Well, I'm fairly newbie everything, right? So, um, the great thing about um, traditionally published is I don't have to come up with my own artwork or pay a cover designer. I've paid an outside editor with the first 2 in each series, and now I will pay an outside editor with all of my self-published because we just don't see ourselves what's on the page. When you're traditionally published, they edit in-house. There's things like that, but you have no control over your timeline. You have very little say in the cover design. And I've been lucky to have good covers. But I see some other people, sometimes people don't, and are not happy with their cover design, and there's nothing they can do about it. There's this misperception that traditional authors have this great marketing team, and I just want to I'm here to say on both sides of the thing, no, we do not. I hear self-published authors all the time say, "I have to do it myself." Well, guess what? When you're traditionally published, unless you're Stephen King or somebody big, you're doing it yourself anyway. So I want to sweep that out in the open. You're doing the same thing marketing either way. The with self-publishing, I really enjoyed the process of learning that. I had to learn how to format my book. I actually bought a program called Atticus. It's a software program that is very. It was a friend of mine recommended it, and I really loved the way her books looked, so I went ahead and got it and used it, and I really liked that for formatting my book. I hired a cover designer who is also a cozy mystery author, and I really love my cover. That's on Ask Me No Questions. You're more hands-on, but it was not nearly as daunting as I thought it was going to be when I started the process, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all the little things and having the control over my own timeline.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. So I think you are so proactive in getting your book out there. But I have two questions to that. So first of
Sure.
all, your personal proactive. I know you attend a lot of different events. You're going to attend the Northwest Book Fair. Thank you very much. And but I look at your website. It's very well done, and then you have all these list of events. So you're really out there putting your face to your work. So how easy or hard was that?
It's both. It's a necessary evil, I think. If you want your books to be found, you have to be marketing. And I know, a lot of us authors are very introverted, and I am myself. But I also, I always say my previous life, my past life, I also had to be in front of crowds teaching seminars and teaching crews how to do things. And so I'm comfortable with that. I'm not necessarily comfortable if you plop me in a party, but I can do that. So that part isn't difficult for me. I'm fine with reading in front of a crowd or whatever needs to be done. But it does take a whole lot of time. But there's so I think you're a cozy mystery reader, correct, Patty? So you're probably familiar with Ellen Byron. She's a fairly big cozy mystery author as well, and she used to write for TV shows such as Wings and some other things. But one thing that I always remember when I'm feeling bogged down by all of the marketing and the events and stuff is that Ellen says, this is a long game. We have to get out there in front of the readers. We have to make these connections. It's part of getting our books out there and having people remember us and remember our series and want to follow along. So it's very enjoyable to me to meet readers and other authors. Again, part of the necessary evil. So one of the things with Crooked Lane, the publisher who put out Hammers and Homicide, in the marketing agreement that I had with them was you need to post at least once a day on your social media. So I took that to heart, and I kind of have a little schedule that I try to, Mondays maybe something funny, and this is just off the top of my head. It's not my exact schedule. Tuesdays maybe a promo, Wednesdays writing update. Just type things to, and I don't always stick to it, but at least it's something that I can look at and say because we all have moments when we're feeling I have no idea what to post. But it's helpful to have just kind of a little schedule and just get it done.
You're listening to Northwest Book Talk. I am your host, Patty Grasher, and I'm here today with Paula Charles, cozy mystery author of the Hometown Hardware Mysteries and writing as Jana Rollins with the Zen Goat Mystery Series. When we come back, Paula is going to share how the role of mystery writer groups played an important part in her writing journey.
The Columbian in Southwest Washington continues to offer the most comprehensive and consistent coverage of our region and our people, despite the challenges faced by local newspapers nationwide. Valued donations to our community-funded journalism project via the Local Media Foundation pays for local reporters to provide expanded and in-depth coverage of key local issues in print and online, including homelessness, transportation, and the environment. For the most thorough daily coverage, visit Columbian.com. Please consider donating or subscribing today.
KXRW is supported by founding partners Morel Inc. Print and Marketing. Since 1993, Morel Inc. has offered high-quality, creative, and innovative solutions for their women-owned, union-staffed, state-of-the-art print shop. Morel Inc.'s experienced staff uses the latest technology to solve clients' marketing needs and within their budget. Find Morel Inc. at morelinc.com. That's MORELINK.com.
Welcome back to Northwest Book Talk. I'm your host, Patty Grasher. I'm here today with Paula Charles, and we continue our conversation about writing cozy mysteries. But anyway, so you belong to a few writing groups. So tell me about those, which are the most effective for you, and why do you have you have 3 groups that you're joining that I know of? So
Yeah, there's the Sisters in Crime, and there's 3 groups within the Sisters in Crime. So Sisters in Crime National is a very well-known national organization where you have access to all kinds of webinars and just various things on craft that helps you to build your craft. And it's very well worth I want to say the dues are $50 a year, maybe 60, something like that. It's very well worth it. And then when you do go to these big mystery conventions or book conventions, there's other Sisters in Crime members there, and there's usually get-togethers. So you're mingling with all kinds of other authors who are in all different steps of their journey, very well-known people who have been very successful to brand new. And it's just, when you surround yourself with those kind of people, it keeps you motivated. So then the Guppies is part of Sisters in Crime. And the Guppies stands for GUP, stands for the Great Unpublished. So that is, and again, these are all online. The Great Unpublished, again, many of the people who started out as unpublished, such as Ellen Byron, are still very much involved with the Guppies. They're still there handing out advice and sharing their stories and being very, very helpful. So it's a great organization. And again, at like Malice Domestic Mystery Convention, there's always a Guppies meetup. So then you get to meet these people that you're seeing online. And then our personal chapter here, the Columbia River Sisters in Crime chapter, we're a virtual chapter. You do not have to be along the Columbia River to join because we meet once a month, and it's all online. It's through Zoom. So it's great. We always have great speakers. And then there's, some of us are are local to each other. So there's various meetups. Last weekend, I attended the Columbia River Authors Festival. It was called, that the Longview Library put on, and there was 4 of us from our chapter there. So, it's just another great organization to be involved with and surround yourself with other authors who are in the same boat you are.
So that's cool. Well, I want to go back to your writing a little bit. So one of the things that I've picked up in your book, because I'm trying to be a little more investigative in writing, in reading books to see how it's done. And you are really great with similes, in building, like in one of your book, like a squirrel being chased by a cat. And like you said earlier, finding a unicorn in the woods, all those things. Do you have a strategy, or how do you work at building that descriptive, fun sense in your books?
Well, I don't necessarily think I have a strategy. I think that I've been asked a similar question like this before. I think I have a colorful brain, and I think my family has a colorful language, because a lot of the things that I put in there are things we actually say within my family. Um, I saw the cat chasing a squirrel probably came from just sitting here looking out my window. We have big cedar trees, and we have lots of squirrels that my cat was chasing around the tree, and the squirrel is, antagonizing the cat, really. So that just comes from natural things. I don't necessarily think about it. It just comes out of my brain.
Okay, so let me ask you about your goat series, which I haven't read, but I'm intrigued by that. How did you come up with that? Do you raise goats yourself?
Yes, sort of. I raised goats as a kid. I was very involved with FFA, raised goats, and I was just thinking about another series. And I'm standing here looking out my window. My eyes fall on my goats in my barnyard. We had 2 at the time. We just have 1 now. Bugsy is the goat on the cover of those books. He's the one that's gone now. He was just such a great guy, and I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, "Oh, I think I wanna set this on a farm with a goat," and then just goat yoga came to mind. That's how it came about. And the setting there is, it's in New Hampshire, and that came about because my husband is from New England. I had only been once at the time, but I loved it, and I thought, if I set a book in New Hampshire, then I'm gonna have to go back and do research. So, that was how that thought process happened.
3 books for the goat series. Are you going to do more on your own after that? Are you just that's going to the end of?
No, so the publishers, a lot of times you're not allowed to continue. So it just depends on what my publisher wants to do. If they want more, they may send me a contract for more. I don't know at this point. I only know that there's going to be 3. If they decide not to continue it, no, I won't be able to. The other series, the Crooked Lane, that I have continued, they write their contracts a little bit differently, because honestly, they're notorious for dropping people after 1 or 2 books. So that contract says, after the last book has been out for a year, you can continue. Sometimes your visibility is better, so you can pick up more readers. But yeah, there's usually, and I'm not exactly sure on mine, but I want to say it's 7 years. Then I could try to get my rights back after the books haven't been published for 7 years. You can try to get your rights back and then self-publish them yourself or continue.
Let's follow up with visibility. You said there's a little more visibility with traditional. Have you experienced that? Because earlier you said you've got to be out there tooting your own horn, basically, whether you're published traditionally or self-published. So, what do you mean by is there greater visibility being traditionally published?
I think the greater visibility mostly comes from those publishers being more well known. So people are, for instance, with Crooked Lane being my publisher there, they're really focused on getting the books into libraries, and book clubs. So there's that visibility. People begin to know the Crooked Lane author, so then they're looking at Crooked Lane's website for new books that are coming out, that type of stuff.
Okay, so I would like to go back on a personal note. What was your experience with Ellie Alexander? Because I took some personal coaching with her. Did you actually take a course, or did you just have personal coaching?
No, I took her course. I took her Mystery Masterclass course, I believe it's called. Yes, and some of my best friends now that are authors came from other people that were taking that course. It was very enlightening and really helped me to up my writing skills.
What do you do to prepare for a live event that you're going to attend, like such as the book fair or a library event or something like that?
Make sure that I have all of my ducks in a row with everything that I'm going to need from my table, including a tablecloth in case there's not one provided. I just got a new banner for my table. I make sure I have enough, plenty of copies of each one of my books, that I have a sign for prices and another sign of how to pay me. I do have a sign I have a QR code that takes you correctly or right to Venmo. Well, honestly, I haven't done many yet. Only 3 now, all in the past few months that I've actually sold my own books at. Um, and they've all went very well. So I haven't had any major issues yet. I'm sure that will come.
You're on this podcast, but what about other podcasts or videos that you've done, and are you actively looking for more of those?
I have done quite a few. I've been very lucky to have a great group of people that I know that are booktubers or have podcasts. And part of that comes again from those groups that we were talking about. Tomorrow, I am doing a bookish moment with 2 authors who host it, Sarah E. Burr and J.C. Kenney, who are both cozy mystery authors as well. And so I had mentioned my agent who actually unfortunately passed away unexpectedly a year and a half ago. But our agent she had created this great family of group of all of us. She had once a month, we had what she called happy hours, where we all got together on Zoom and just chatted. It could be about life or publishing, it didn't matter. We just chatted, and it created this kind of a tight group of friends with us. And so the 2 podcast or booktubers that I am doing the interview with tomorrow were agency siblings with me. Uh, so there's things like that. I have been on several. There's the Beach Bum Bookworm is a great, well known booktuber as well, and she's a personal friend of mine because I met her at the first Malice Domestic I went to, and then we were at Ellie Alexander's Ashland Mystery Fest together, and we've just become really great friends. And so she's had me on a couple of times. And yeah, when I have a new book out, I'll kind of actively look for these opportunities, email people that I know to say, do you have any openings? Yeah, you do have to be active about getting those kind of slots.
Yeah. Well, I think we have come to the end of our time slot. It's been great fun. So thank you, Paula, for joining me on this program, and great success with all your books.
Thank you so much, Patty, for having me. It's been fun.
You've been listening to Northwest Book Talk on 99.9 KXRW FM, serving the greater Vancouver area. You can discover more about Paula Charles at northwestbooktalk.com.